Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm coming to you with the books that I read in the first half actually of February. We're not that far into February yet, come on. The Undertakers by Nicole Glover. This is the second book this is the sequel to The Conductors, and this is a post-Civil War era historical fantasy. So I think that this was a really good book, but like the first one, I definitely had an issue with the amount of backstory that we don't necessarily have firsthand because it all happened before the story started. So there were still some instances in this one where it'll say something like, oh, she thought she recognized the woman. Oh, the woman turned around. It was bloody blah. And I was like, who's bloody blah? Because we're given absolutely no context and stuff like that. So overall, like, good book and everything, but I definitely have a lot of issues with books that focus on stuff that already happened before the story ever started. Leadership on the Line, this was my Works Book Club pick this month. This focuses on things like just aspects of leadership, such as viewing things from the balcony and the dance floor, so to speak, like be a participant and go look at the big picture, and be a viewer. All of that, because you're going to get a different perspective and you need both in a lot of ways. And one thing I thought was very apt as well was it talks about don't get married to your role. Like, don't define yourself by the specific job that you have, because that, if that job or that role ends in some capacity, you don't want to feel like bad and bummed out about that. And I definitely do have firsthand experience on at least two counts with this, where I definitely did start defining myself by the work I was doing, and when it was over, I felt like someone who didn't know how to be single after being in a relationship for a long time or something like that, where I started accepting jobs and projects that I probably shouldn't have in hindsight, but like I just had to fill the void somehow, that type of thing. The only thing I didn't like about this book is that it uses the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky situation to describe something, and I felt kind of weird about the book kind of putting words in people's mouths as far as what was happening, what the situation was. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. This is about a guy who becomes the sheriff of a really small town that is full of white supremacists committing horrible crimes. And I definitely did enjoy this book, and that even though it was really dark, it tried not to get too dark, even though the subject matter was dark. Also points for the destroying of a racist statue, hooray. So then we have Tangleroot by Kayla Williams. This is about a girl who basically is made to move to her mother's old, like, hometown, kind of, or like her mother's ancestral house, I guess, in rural Virginia, and instead of doing an internship, as punishment for something fairly minor, like her mother is like really controlling and really overbearing, to the point where she doesn't let her do an internship, and then later on in the book, she makes her not go to college, even though she was literally enrolled and going to start college, like, soon. And at the last minute, her mom says, nope, you did this, so you're not going to college. And that just seemed so extreme and so weird. And, like, I just could not keep but, like, flying through this book because I really wanted to see what the heck happened. Like, that was just nuts to me. And basically our main character looks through her ancestry and finds out a lot of stuff, and that's mainly what the book is about. It's about, like, stuff that she wasn't really told about her ancestry, and stuff that she just kind of, like, her whole family didn't really know, and she's digging up. And it had a lot of themes of, for instance, being disappointed in your ancestors by for not being anti-racist enough, being a product of their time and all of that, and then kind of, realizing that you're not them, you can make better choices. Another really big theme of this book is that the people who seem like they're better than the outright racists, you know, the people who are at least somewhat, um, they're just not overtly racist and hateful, are actually worse in a lot of ways than the people who are, because they actually are harboring a lot of hate. So even if someone puts on a front like they're trying to be nice and everything, and they're trying to like actually listen to you and everything, a lot of times they really are racist as well, just like all the overtly racist people out there. And so it definitely made me think about how we need to keep calling out racism. It's not enough to just kind of say it once. Like, we have to keep on being anti-racist, because the because just doing one thing that's anti-racist or that's not racist is not enough. It's just not it. And then I could really relate to all the stuff she was digging up about her ancestors, because I also have ancestry from, you know, the South, and I definitely think about a lot of this stuff often. Medusa Sisters by Lauren J.A. Baer. This is a Greek mythology retelling about Medusa and her two sisters, who are also the other two Gorgons. This is very different from Stone Blind, which I just read last year. Which was also a Medusa retelling. In that one, Medusa's two sisters were already Gorgons, and she was just like raised by them, and then she gets turned into a Gorgon because they are already Gorgons, basically. Whereas in this one, all three of them are, you know, human shaped anyway, and then all the stuff happens, and because they are all there when the shit goes down, they all get turned into Gorgons, because they all defended, they both defended Medusa against Athena and all of that. So it was really interesting to get kind of another retelling of almost the same thing that I just read about recently. But yeah, this was a really fascinating book. I thought it was really good. And finally, Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a book that I really enjoyed. I really flew through this book, but I had two major issues with it as well, so I really don't know how I feel about this book. But basically, this is a book about a girl who, when she was 9 years old, she was convicted of killing a baby who was in the care of her and her mother's that night. So she has grown up being in baby jail, which is like jail for kids, but that's worse than juvie. It's not juvie, it's jail. She is 15 at the beginning of this story, and she has just gotten out, and she is living in a group home. And she actually finds out at the beginning of the book that she is pregnant, and she really wants to keep the baby. And so throughout the story, you're kind of thinking, like, on the one hand, how mean of all these people to just not even think about allowing her to keep the baby that she really wants to keep, because she's an alleged baby killer, and she's 15 and was in jail and all of that. But then also, how can she keep the baby when she wants to go to college and everything? She's clearly very smart. She's really trying to like take the SAT and go to college and all of this stuff. And because she was in jail this whole time, she doesn't have an ID, so she's trying to get an ID to take the SAT with and all of that. But basically, the issues that I had with this book was, one, there is a really brutal murder of a cat. It doesn't happen on page, but they find it. And it's clear what happened. It's very, very brutal. Deliberate animal cruelty in a book is my absolute deal breaker when it comes to books. Every single time that I encounter that in a book, I wish I hadn't read the book. And so if I already know before going into the book that something like that happens in a book, I just won't even read it. Because never once have I been glad that I still read the book. And honestly, this really scarred me for life, and I wish that I had not read this book. And then the other thing too that made me not like this book was the twist ending. So it kind of tries to do this unreliable narrator type of thing, but it doesn't do it very well. It basically gives us one type of narrative throughout the entire, because this is all through first person, this is all from our main character's point of view. And we basically get one story the whole time. And then at the end of the book, suddenly it's like, and she was actually crazy, basically, something like that. And I don't appreciate that. I think that normally, a good unreliable narrative would be something that gives you the inkling that this narrator is unreliable this whole time, and that's just not what this book was. So overall, I ended up not being a fan of this book, even though it was really good, even though I did really enjoy reading it. Those two things ruined it for me, basically. So anyway, I like don't know how to feel about this book now. But anyway, those are the books that I read in the first half of February. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!